So I'm James Cooper. I'm a principal software developer at Siemens EDA Saskatoon. As a software developer, I write software for computers. Principal is kind of a level above a senior, so I've been working in the field for about 15 years. I work largely kind of on my own on brand new projects, maybe leading up a small team of people. So Siemens EDA is a branch of Siemens, the very large company across the world, but we're primarily located within North America, especially this outlet here in Saskatoon. And basically this division is electronic design automation. So we write software that electrical engineers use when they're designing microchips. You'll see our software used by most of the top semiconductor manufacturers, including pretty much every chip that's in your cell phone. So for me, a normal day would be working at an office 9 to 5, although we're quite flexible on that. We certainly have the ability to come in early or come in later if need be, depending on the situation, step out for a while. And work from home is actually a fairly common thing nowadays too. So as a software developer, it's kind of the thing you can do anywhere at any time, whatever suits you best. Normally I'm working as an individual, but often together with a team as well. As a principal, because of my expertise and experience, I'll often end up fielding a lot of questions for people. So they'll come to me with problems that they're currently working on or ideas that they've come up with for solutions and bounce them off me and say, hey, any perspective on this? What do you think? But aside from that, I'll often be heads down by myself, focusing on trying to solve large problems one small step at a time. So trying to build a whole new product, invent some new technology, but usually iterating on small pieces of code saying, I want it to do this, I have these tools available to me, how can I make it do that? Or what is it actually doing and what did I think it was going to do and why is it not the same thing, right? Where have I made the mistake? Software development is entirely problem solving, absolutely. In fact, software engineering is often a term that's used for it. It's a little bit cantankerous at the moment, but it definitely is, in my opinion, a form of engineering because you're constantly trying to solve problems, especially when it comes to, at the end of the day, you're trying to build something for somebody else to solve a problem for them. So I don't just write software because it's cool. I write software because people have challenges that they're trying to solve. They come to us, or maybe we see the problem and we come to them with the solution already in mind. But there's something they're trying to do and they're trying to find a way to make it easier, more efficient, more productive. And so they will describe to us the problem and we'll have to work with them to try and figure out what really is the problem, what kind of solutions could we provide, where is it working well, where isn't it working well, and constantly iterating on it to try and solve it. So every single step of every single day is problem solving in the small and in the large. So my career journey was almost stereotypical in a sense. I was one of those kids who, even at a young age, was already taking apart electronics and anything that blinked and made noises I thought was really cool. So I was into computers when they first started coming into people's homes. As for actually programming it, that kind of just came as a side effect of that. I was really interested in them. I wanted to know how they worked. I read tons, every single book I could find in the library. And as the internet started becoming available, I read a lot on there as well about how do these things work. So I always wanted to try and figure out how they worked. I wanted to try and make them do interesting things. So it was kind of a natural that I would have eventually ended up becoming a software developer. I was actually more interested originally in becoming an electrical engineer, and I actually went to school for that instead. But along the way, I knew that I liked computers and computer science, and I wanted to keep involved in that as well. So I did 2 degrees. I did electrical engineering and computer science. And as I was going through my schooling, I found I was actually more interested in the programming side of things than I was in the circuit design and such like that. So by the time I came out, I really knew that I was looking for working as a software developer somewhere. And I was very fortunate that one of the first opportunities that came up was with, at the time, Solido Design Automation, now Siemens EDA, where they were writing software that was used by electrical engineers designing circuits. So it's like, oh, well, I always wanted to design circuits, and maybe I'm not going to do that. But now I know a lot about the thing that they're trying to build, which really helps when you're trying to build something. So kind of just fell into the role as I went through. And I found that was common for a lot of people who I went to school with as well. It was more, I have an interest in this field, I'm going to go study whatever it is that's available in this field, and at some point you end up finding a job somewhere, but nobody really had an idea of where they were going or necessarily how to get there, just I'm going to learn about computers because I like them, and hopefully one day I can get a job doing something with them. Definitely, my role has evolved a lot as I've worked at Siemens. When I first got out of college, I actually joined in quality assurance, so QA or testing. I wasn't really much for testing, but that's what we started with. And after a year of doing that, I asked to start working more directly on developing the product itself and had the opportunity to switch into just more of a mainstream development role. Started out early not knowing a lot about programming, not being able to take on large tasks. So primarily working on small tickets, small bug fixes and that kind of stuff. Usually small problems with a very well-defined solution or task that needs to be performed, and somebody's just got to sit down and do it. But over time, over the years, as I got more proficient and more experienced, I was able to start taking on larger challenges, more open-ended questions, to the point where now, 15 years later, it's like, here's an entire industry, here's some open problem in the industry, we think we could make money if we can solve it. Can you come up with something? We'll give you a couple of years. So from a ticket that takes a day to an entire product that takes years to generate, things have scaled up over time as I've become more experienced in the field. I think there's two really important skills. The most obvious one is problem solving, because that's what you do every day. So given a problem that you're trying to overcome, whether it's why doesn't this code work, or something more abstract like how do I make a machine that can improve the yield for my crops, right? Maybe I want software that can somehow help with that. You always start with some kind of a problem and you have to try and work your way through finding a solution to it. And so problem solving is the thing you do every day constantly. It's by far the most important, except that we're not just solving problems in a vacuum, we're solving problems for people. And communication is a really important part of that. Being able to understand and empathize with what people are trying to accomplish and what you can do to help, working with other team members to share ideas and work through problems and other challenges. It's not something that you can just do by yourself. It's inevitably going to be helping somebody else with something. And the more help you can give to them, the more help you can get from other people who you work with or in the field, the better you'll be able to serve them. So being able to communicate, being able to work through problems as a team is really what I do every day and the most important thing to learn. So the coolest thing for me as a software developer is I actually see it more like being a magician. You take this dead piece of electronics and by writing some magical incantations, you bring the machine to life and it does your bidding. It is absolutely magical when it works. So I really enjoy that ability to just be able to come up with an idea, whether it's something somebody wants solved or just like, hey, this would be cool, I wonder if I can do this. And being able to write down some words, work through some issues, and eventually get it to spring to life and do that, right? You've made something purely out of thought. And to be able to see that come to life is amazing, and I get to do that every day. So I think the jobs prospects coming up are really good. I know I've heard a lot about how AI is going to change everything, and undoubtedly it will, but we've been hearing for decades that something is going to make software development obsolete, and that just never happens. You always need somebody who knows how the machine works, who can tell it what you want it to do, even if it's writing an AI to do the rest of the work for you. We write tools all the time that make it easier for us to write programs so that we're not having to do the really low-level details like we used to 30, 40 years ago. So that's never going to change, but one thing that definitely continues to change is that we use computers more and more for everything, and that's not going to stop. So there's always going to be a demand for software developers, and Saskatchewan in particular seems to be a really good place for that right now. The University of Saskatchewan has really good programs, really good educators. The students who come out of there are really good. We hire new students here all the time and are quickly able to get them up to speed and working effectively. And especially as other markets come and go, things are moving to knowledge-based economies, and where you can do that anywhere. And Saskatchewan happens to be a really nice place for it because it's big and quiet and a really nice place to live. And so, yeah, you don't have to be in the middle of Silicon Valley. You can be here doing it instead and not have to pay for super high rent. The biggest thing I would think of about trying to get into a career in programming or computer science or anything in tech is, especially if you're looking at it from not having any real background in it, whether you're elementary or high school student, or maybe you come from a completely different career field, is that there is no one set path. There's no one place to go. You know, people look at a software developer or something like that as a specific position or a specific career, but really there can be so much variety in it, in the path that you take, the education that can get you there, the kind of role that you'll end up playing, that really the most important thing I think is just learning how to effectively communicate with people, how to do the problem solving, learn as much as you can about all of the area. You know, find the part that you find interesting and that you're passionate about and that you have some skill in, and just go learn about all of it. And if you are good at it and if you enjoy it, there will be positions out there that you'll be able to find that will be able to take advantage of those skills. But primarily, it's not about what you know, it's about what you can learn. And so learning how to learn is the key part. That's the biggest part of problem solving, and the biggest part about being able to walk into any kind of a new domain, a new career, and say, all right, teach me what I need to know, I'll figure it out as I go along. And we really do figure out most of it as we go along. I think the thing to keep in mind is that there's no one set path. There's no right way to get where you want to go, and there might not even be a clear idea of where you want to go. And that's the same in programming as well. We're constantly trying to figure out what it is we even want to accomplish and how we're going to get there. And so at every step, we're always trying to learn as much as we can, come up with as many tools as we have available to us, and you make some kind of a plan of, I think I want to go here, and you make a step in that direction. But it's nothing you have to commit to. You don't have to plan everything out in advance and find the right answer and worry that you're going the wrong direction. Just try your best to pick somewhere to start going and start moving, and always be reviewing what you're doing, how it's working out, and be prepared to change your plans as you go. But nothing's set in stone. Don't worry about making a mistake in your career planning or your education. Just try your best and adjust on the fly as needed.